Well, hello everyone. How's everyone doing? And welcome to Optimistic Bites with our special guest today, Dr. Michael White. And as you can tell, I am not Judy. Judy is still recovering, but she's doing well. But my name is Paula Bell, for those who may not know who I am. And I was a guest on Optimistic Bites a few weeks ago as well. But today is not about me, it's all about Doc White. So, my dear friend,
Yeah,
Michael White, how are you doing today?
good. Paula, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. Um,
Good.
Now, okay, so I have a question though, because
Sure.
Judy did this to me, right? So she was starting about telling a story on how we met. Okay, Michael, how did we meet? Because I really don't remember how we met.
I well, officially we met through Bridging the Gap during my onboarding process as an instructor there. I feel like we've probably connected through LinkedIn before that. I can't really remember since we're both in the business analysis space.
Right.
But in my head, I think my first official um, meeting with you was probably during my interview.
That could be it. That could
Yeah.
be it. I wasn't sure if we met cross paths when we were speaking or something like that, because it's that typically tends to happen. But
Yeah.
yes, I know that when you came and you did the interview for Bridging the Gap, I was really, really impressed with your knowledge and everything that you bring. And you have a doctorate in your business analyst. I was like, now that's impressive, right? You're actually an official doctor. So that was really impressive, which actually might be a good segue into something that I wanted to ask you anyway, as we talk about your degrees. So as I was saying, you have many degrees yourself, and you are a big proponent of education.
Yeah.
You have several degrees, you have several certifications. What was your motivation for getting this much education? Let's first start with that. And then, if you remember the second half of the question, which I'm going to throw in here, right? So, you got your own education, but you're a really big proponent of helping other people get certifications and education as well. So, what was your motivation for doing it for yourself first, and then your motivation for doing it for others?
Yeah, great question. Well, I've even as a young child, I've always loved school. Like I was the nerd. I never wanted to take days off, or like take sick days or anything like
Mhm.
that. So I've just always loved school. And actually, the getting all of the different degrees actually came from changing interests. When I was an undergrad, my degree was actually in architecture. And so my junior year, I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And so, because I had so much skin in the game, I was like, okay, I'm not going to start over. I'm just going to finish this program and then I'll start my master's in something else, something that I'm a little more interested in. So, I got a little work experience and got my master's, my MBA in business because that's where I kind of found that I had an interest in process improvement and business and things like that, as well as training people. I would
Right.
always be the person that, they would bring the new people to sit with or something like that. And then I, would start putting, once it became so repetitive, I would start putting little packages together so that it would make it easier for me to train them, when they came.
Right.
And then it just turned into something that I really like to do. And so, in, you know, having different roles, I kind of found that you just got to get pushed into things. I wasn't experiencing a lot of formal training in the roles that I was in. So I would always put things together myself, like grids or procedures and things like that, just so that I could learn to do the best job that I could do. And then it became a point where people noticed that and they were like, "Hey, can I use that? Can I borrow that?" And then it just became like a thing, like a repetitive pattern. For every organization I turned to, I would create documents and procedures and things like that. And so it just turned into something that I love to do. Um, and yeah, so in terms of that, at one point I was like, well, maybe I'll go into like being a professor part time.
Right.
Like I probably should get a doctorate degree, because I feel like all of the professors are doctors, and so
Right.
I got kind of um, used to that idea. I was like, okay, I think I'll go ahead and pursue um, that doctorate degree. So that's where that kind of came from, for sure.
And so is that how you came with the name, the business analysis doctor?
Yes. So I think with that, once I actually started to make a business of this, once my
Mhm.
company shut down,
Mhm.
I knew that I had wanted to go into business analysis. I had already had a certification. Um, and through that process, I experienced some different types of courses and things like that. I was like, yeah, I would like to structure it in a different way. If I were doing that, if I were teaching people how to, study for the certification or whatever, I would do it like this. Um, and so eventually, when I decided to make it a formal business, I was like, well, I need a name.
Right.
And I had gotten kind of attached to having my students call me Dr. White or just being a professor. And so it just came to me like, well, why don't you include that in the name, the business analysis doctor? And so it kind of came organically like that. It wasn't a big reveal. It just kind of sounded like it made sense. And I
Mhm.
went with it. Um, and that the rest is history. That's just what
That's the story.
yeah, and I thought I would want to change it, but it just stuck. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. It's interesting because you said you started with architecture, and if you think about it, architecture has a lot of piecing things together and making things work and figuring things out and creating structures and all of that. And every time you were talking about a different component of your experience, those same sort of words came in. So maybe that architecture was a sort of a foundational thing that you built on, not really knowing how you were going to be able to use that later
right.
on, not actually being an architect, right? And so
Yeah,
that's really cool how that all fits together,
it is.
how that works.
It is. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is what I didn't really realize I was being prepared for that, because one of the things when you're an architecture student, if there's any architecture students out there, they would know that we have to like present our ideas in front of audiences, and they're like basically assessing us. So it's almost like how I'm presenting in public speaking and things like that. That that program was actually preparing me for that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow, I would have never put that together. And then another thing is, when we talk about requirements, most people say that the requirements are like the blueprint for the developer, right? And so we, in architecture, we're creating blueprints and things like that. So it's so crazy how all these things tie in together. And then in addition to there being an actual, solution architect or business architect, it's just all these things that kind of tie in so well together. And I didn't even realize it until I actually, got into the business, that it was actually preparing me for that, for sure.
For sure. So for those who are listening live right now or will be listening to this later, think about the things that you have done in the past or are doing now and how it can relate to the profession you're in or want to be in the future, because I don't think we take enough time to think about that, just like how martial arts for me translates into many different things that I do, right? It's really interesting when you get into things that sometimes you really don't know what that
Yeah,
impact would be. So as
yeah.
we talk about business analysis though, as you bring that up, what do you see as the biggest trend in business analysis, would you say, in the next 5 years?
I think one of the biggest trends will be the separation of business analysis from the BA role,
Mm,
and more focus on the skill set. And we're already seeing that, right? Like
right.
I think most of us know that business analysis is a skill set that is applied to many different domains and many different jobs. And I think there's going to be more of that even in the training space, I think there will be more people who are not business analysts seeking business analysis training, right? Like executives or other high level roles that are really trying to focus in on their business analysis skills and seeing where those skill sets can fit into their current roles.
100% agree. And for those who might have listened to my optimistic bites, no, Doc White and I did not script that answer together because I said the same thing when
Really?
I did. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still see that. I 100% agree. I still see that trend of the role keeps morphing and shifting, but the skill sets are still there, right? Those underlying skill sets are still there, and so you kind of need those things to ensure that as you move the value that a BA can bring to any organization, to any project is amazing
Yeah.
for the skill set. And then also, as you talk about having your own business as well, I'm quite sure those skills have transferred into that. And let's talk about that a little bit, right? So your website is very impressive. You offer training delivered in many different ways. There are online classes, live classes, self study. Plus, you have a significant number of resources. How on earth do you manage all of this?
Yeah. That's a great question. I I actually structure my business in a way to give more autonomy to the participants and to the students, so that it's my courses themselves are very structured in a way that people can just jump in and understand what's going on. But I give the participants or the students the autonomy to complete it when they want to. So that takes a little bit of pressure off of me to have to, corral them and keep them in order and things like that. So I think by automating as much as possible, right? Um, and doing, like we talked about earlier, as much business analysis on my teaching processes as possible, I figured out, how can I give this structure? How can I make this repeatable? How can I make this automated so that it requires the least amount of human intervention, but also provides the most amount of flexibility for the students so that they also feel like, um, they know where they're at, in the program, but also I am available for them. I am available when they have questions or want to chat or have emails and things like that. So I think making so many resources available for them within the courses and in the course material, a lot of times there's a little, I mean, I do interact with the students when they have questions and things like that, but I think I present things in a way so that they know that this is available for you first. And then if that doesn't work, then you can reach out to me whenever you need to. So
So,
it's been working.
so is it just you, or do you have other people that teach
Right.
with
So
your
I'm,
course as well?
yeah. So I'm the only instructor for my material, because I think when you're dealing with a certification course and an exam based certification course, consistency of information is really important. And I have been in situations or courses where I'm getting conflicting information, or one person is really great and one person's not. So I'm still building out what my onboarding process is going to be in order to have other people instruct in my courses. So that's still in the works, because I do envision multiple people in the future. But right now, I'm still building it out and testing out what the credentials are and what the onboarding process is, because I get people asking about being a potential instructor all the time, but I haven't crafted that out. So that is in the future. So my team now focuses on all of the back end stuff, admin, marketing, and things like that. So um, my students now will only really get to interact with me as of right now.
Okay. Okay. In addition to that, so you have your own business, but you and I both work for Bridging the Gap, right?
Yeah.
So you are an instructor for Bridging the Gap as well.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all of that as well too? So you have your own business and you are working for another company.
Yeah, I mean, I think any business analyst will know we have to prioritize things, right? Whatever is coming up next, that's what we focus our attention to. It's kind of like taking the adaptive model, right? If this is coming up, this is what I start researching, this is what I start working on. So just time management, holding myself accountable, planning is a big part of planning and scheduling is a big part of my life.
Mhm.
So definitely that helps me keep everything in order and together, because if it's not on my calendar or on my planner, I love physical planners as well.
Right,
I like to write everything down. I also have things on my electronic calendar. So
right.
that is definitely how I manage to keep all these things in order.
So there's one question I would like to ask now that I'm just hearing of all the things that you do. And I know that you and I we've talked about our businesses in the past and things of that nature. And what advice would you give for someone who may be in a project role? Could be a business analysis role, project manager, they could be doing a hybrid, right? But they
Hmm.
have that BA skill set, but they also want to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
What advice would you give them? Because some people they want to do this, but they might feel like they're not able to do this. They can't do the entrepreneurial endeavors plus their day job. You have two people right here, right now, that can tell you you can, because we both do, right? But what advice, maybe just one piece of advice that you would give somebody who might be listening to this live now
Hmm.
or will be listening to it in the future and they're interested in becoming an entrepreneur? What one piece of advice would you give on how they can leverage everything that they've done within their BA skill set to help
Yes.
launch that business they want to launch?
I think it's really important to know the type of business analyst you are. Um, because business analysis as a whole, we're like strategic, we're ideas, we are all about vision and making the best products and things like that. So personally, I haven't actually had formal project manager roles, but I've always been able to balance that. Like I've always worked well with project managers, because while I'm always in la la land with the vision and the goals and things like that, I'm also very like timeline. This is the timeline. This is the budget. Things like that. So if you're like 100% BA, and you're trying to be an entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs are visionaries. We're like, la la la, this is great. This is what we want. We want to do everything under the sun, solve every problem. But you also have to have that awareness about yourself. So if you know that you are a visionary but not an executor, you also have to have a team or a person that's going to execute, right? So kind of like the whole Steve Jobs thing, right? Like, the visionary, and then there's the other people
Mhm.
that get things done. So for me, I've always been that mix of both. So I understand about myself, okay, this is great, but I also have to get it done as well. And I see this in a lot of entrepreneurs. They're they're doing so many things, but they're not executing. So I
Right.
think knowing that about yourself, if you know that you're not an executor, you are a initiator, but you're not an executor, then you definitely have to have a partner or someone on your team that's going to be executing your brilliant ideas, right? So um, I would say just having that awareness about the type of BA or the type of leader or entrepreneur that you are, right?
Mhm. I 100% agree. And just a real quick, just plug in here too. If you are watching live and you have any questions, please feel free to enter those questions in. We are open to answering any questions that you have live. But to your point, Michael, I do agree. You have to know yourself. And it's interesting you bring that up because, I talk a lot about being a holistic BA, taking care of yourself, right? But you have to know yourself first
Yeah.
before you can go and do other things. And that's within anything you do, right? So you have to know what I love how you said it. You have to know what type of BA you are. You have to know how you operate. You have to know if you're the visionary and executor, initiator, if you have all three. You have to know those sort of things before you jump into. And you also have to know what on earth you want to have a business around,
Right.
right? Not just say you just want to have business. I mean, figure out your scope,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Figure
Yeah.
out your scope on what you want to do, and then just build from there. So
Yeah. And
that, yes.
and that's
But
that's actually another common thing we see too in entrepreneurs is they just do, but they haven't actually thought out the process. So it's like that type of personality may need to get with someone who's more of a planner or a visionary so that you can pair those together and have something that's actually effective, right? So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you definitely have to have a plan. You have to figure it out and move through it and hold yourself accountable and all those good things we do on our projects. You do the
Yes.
same things to build your business, right? You build that foundation first, and
Yeah.
you keep it moving.
Yeah.
So with that, we talked about some of the services that you provide: online training, live classes. You're known for your certification course, right? But this is your time to share something about your business or services that you would like to share and let people know about, that has been something that has been part of the work that you've done that you're very proud of. And then also, how can people connect up with you to be able to experience and potentially engage or participate in some of the services that you offer?
Yes. So thank you for that. I typically always point people to my website, thebadoc.com. There's a ton of resources there, right? Articles, glossary, quotes, things like that. Things that are not only for information, but it's also there to help motivate BAs of all levels, new BAs, more seasoned BAs as well. Um, but like you mentioned, I do offer a wide range of products. I do offer my flagship products are really my certification products. But I do offer one-on-one coaching. I offer interview prep and things like that. So for new BAs, also for more seasoned BAs that want to get certified, um, we've got a wide range of study platforms, right? So you've got on demand, you've got self study, but by far um, the most popular resource is our live IIBA certification course. That is what I'm mostly known for. And that is preparing you for the IIBA certification exams, but it's also helping you apply BABOK concepts to the real world. So it is combining that theory with the application as well, because BABOK version 3 can be perceived as very theoretical, and particularly versus the previous versions. So the course is really well known for helping people take those concepts and figure out how they can apply them to their daily work, and then use that information to be able to answer and analyze those case study questions that they're going to get on the exam, and those scenario based questions that they're going to get on the exam. So people really have an appreciation for it for sure.
And how long is that course? What's the commitment for that?
Yes. So the course is hybrid. So you've got it's a 4 week. That course is a 4 week weekend course, so 4 Saturdays. But you are also distributed 4 hours of on demand content throughout the week as well. So it is a 40-hour PD or CDU course. So people that want to get their PD hours, it is a 40-hour course. The great thing about the course though is that it is flexible. So while the four um, live sessions, the 4 week live sessions are within a 4 week period of time, you do have that flexibility to complete the course after that, right? So it's not like you have to complete it within that 4 weeks. You can complete the on demand portion after or outside of those 4 week boundaries. So I think that's what a lot of people like about it, is that flexibility and that autonomy. Um, so if you follow the schedule and the agenda, you can complete the course in 4 weeks. But if you have a lot of things going on, you can complete the course whenever you can within your 1 year access. So that's typically what we see. Most people complete the course within 60 days on average, but the course is designed to be completed within that 4 weeks if you follow the schedule. And then there's, your case study assignment and your simulations that are due a couple of weeks after. So I would say really more like 7 weeks. If you stay on schedule, it would take you about 7 weeks to complete all of the requirements to get your certificate of completion.
Okay. And you've had great success. I'm always seeing you post about individuals who've gone through your certification course and they got their ECBA, they got their CBAP. So you
Yeah.
seem to have gotten some really great success out
Yeah.
of people taking your course.
Yeah, it currently has about a 98 point something, close to 99% first time success rate. And the course does prepare you for the ECBA, CCBA, or CBAP, depending on what level. It's kind of like different tracks to a conference. You are in the program, and then you can take whichever track you that applies to the certification that you are interested in. So there has been a lot of great success with that, for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Unfortunately, when I took the CBAP, I did not know you had. I don't even know if you had the certification program then either. But when I took it, it was. I'll never forget. It was. I believe I took the exam the week of Valentine's Day. And yeah, but let me tell you. Let me tell you the stress I got. So I was going to BBC, the Building Business Capability Conference, right? And I got called out on Twitter by my mentor, Paula, why are you not a CBAP yet? Right?
Oh,
With the
wow.
hashtag of the BBC Con hashtag, right? So I was like, okay, so I just got called out, so I need to take this. But the thing that was crazy is I waited. So I had applied for it, and it's like there was, and I don't know if this is still the case, but it was like you had so much months or time from the time you applied to the time you had to take it. And
Application,
then
yeah.
you have to have like your training hours. Well, my training hours were about to expire. So
Oh,
I literally crammed, and I would not recommend anybody do this. I crammed for about 4 months over the holidays. I didn't have a holiday that year either. So I was cramming over Thanksgiving and then I started doing in Christmas and I started doing simulations in January. And I remember walking into that room and I sat down and I at that time, again, I don't know if they still allow you to do it now. You could write down stuff on a piece of paper that you wanted to remember, and then you could just use that as a sort of like a reference check.
yeah.
So I did that and I took the exam. And then when I did the last question, I'm like, oh, good God, here we go. Right. I was like, here we go. So I literally closed my eyes and I opened up my eyes to a survey. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I had to do this
Oh my
survey
goodness.
first. I had to do the survey first. And then when I did the survey, I covered my eyes and I clicked the submit button because I'm like, if I don't pass this, everybody's going to know because I
Yeah.
got called out on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
All I remember seeing, Michael, was the word congratulations. I didn't read nothing else. I just got up and walked out the room and I just sat in my car. I mean, to me, I would have rather had twins again than do that exam. The
Oh
amount
my
of stress
goodness.
I had for that exam, because I have test anxiety. So the amount of stress that exam caused me, I
Yeah.
was like, so I make sure I keep my research up because I don't ever want to have to take it again. I
Yeah.
just,
Right. Exactly. Right.
I just gotta keep that up. But I'm so grateful that there's somebody like you who has a course out there that is not only a live interaction, but also a self study on demand that has been very successful in helping people pass that exam. So
Yeah.
it's great that you are advancing the BA community
Thank you.
all over the globe by
Thank you.
helping them get the certifications
Yeah.
and all. And so I just want to wrap up here and say to those who are listening live or for those who will be watching this later, if you have any additional questions or comments, you can feel free to email them to me at contact@paulaabell.com in Judy's absence. or you can go directly to Doc White through his contact information, website. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him on all different actual social media. So you can find him on that. And of course, you can always reach out to Judy on social media as well for any questions. But until then, thank you again, Doc White, for joining us on Optimistic Bites. I
You're
hope I did
welcome.
Judy proud by stepping in for her while she's out. Thank you for all those behind the scenes who are working to make this happen. And we will see you next time.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Thank you for having me.